Okay, welcome to the show. I'm gonna cook up one of my standard favorites. It's just some tofu with mushrooms. I'm not going to cook the tofu, but rather just have it, it's the extra firm tofu. I'm going to make it with tomato, pumpkin seed, mushroom glaze, if you will. I'm just going to cut up the tomato to small pieces, then just pull some of the zest off of the lemon like this. Doesn't take too much, gives it a nice flavor. And I'll go ahead and just cut a little bit of cabbage for color. Just cut that up. It's important when you cut that you make sure your thumb isn't in the way. Now, I've discovered a really neat way to get almost a bacon taste, and it's with these portobello mushrooms, roasted sesame oil, pumpkin seeds, and just frying it together, a little bit of spice, and it turns out so good. So let's go over to the stove and mix these together. Okay, here we go. It's just I usually put the heat on pretty high at the beginning. I just have it on medium high, like a 5 on 6, 5 out of 6. Now, one thing I do is I cook a lot with pumpkin seeds. So I'll just put them right in the pan, finding anything that doesn't look good, pulling it out. It's not entirely necessary, but this is, I put some oil in here. This is when I put a little oil, a little bit of, see, you can see how they stick to the oil. But if you add a little bit of salt, and really we're going to flavor some tofu, so we can put quite a bit of salt in there. They then are able to move freely. See how they move now? Because of the salt. And that helps them fry evenly. Oil. Of course, if you don't use oil, they move around freely as well. So sometimes I wonder why we use so much oil in this world. I'm just going to keep heating these up until they begin to pop. You can see they begin to puff up and pop. And the mustard seeds pop as well. That's what I put in. I put in some black mustard seeds. And I'll just put some mushroom right now. And also the tomato. And the lemon, why not? Just to cool it down. So I'm keeping the flame rather high here. I'm going to add water, but because I don't want to splatter all over the stove, I usually bring it, and that just gives it some juices to simmer in. Now when the tomatoes cook thoroughly, they'll break down and become more liquid. But for the beginning, you need to have a certain amount of liquid, otherwise things won't cook evenly enough and they'll burn. So I'm just putting some curry powder in there. I usually use quite a bit of curry powder. Here's some black pepper, a little bit of black pepper. And what I'll do is I'll just get it rolling, boiling, and put the lid on it for a bit. Right, here we go. Here's our color. We'll just let that cook for a few minutes. Okay, let's open this up and take a look. You can see the cabbage is wilted and the tomatoes are, they're beginning to get squishable, but I usually cook them until the tomatoes just crush easily, such as that one did, and that one. So let's just stir this up. Give us another minute or two. And really, cabbage is something you can cook down quite a lot. I'll cook down the tomatoes quite until they're sauce. It's not uncommon. And because cabbage keeps its crunchiness for so long, we'll just cook it a little bit longer. Okay, here we go. I cut up a little bit of firm tofu, not the silken, and this is just about ready here. Let's see how that looks. I think these just these pumpkin seeds are so delightful when eating. I eat mostly vegetarian, so they give a really substantial experience to the eating. And I'll tell you what, I cook with pumpkin seeds pretty much every day. But now this makes a nice topping for the cool tofu. I didn't heat up the tofu in this case. I really don't eat that much tofu, frankly, but when I do, a lot of times I'll eat it with a tomato, pumpkin seed, mustard seed base. And this sauce in here is just really nice on the tofu. So anyway, hope you enjoy.